I'm originally from New Jersey, North Jersey, around Woodbridge Township, and when I graduated from high school, I migrated down to what we call the shore of Tom's River, Seaside Heights, and I worked on the boardwalk and owned stands on the boardwalk in Seaside Heights for 15 years, from 1970 to 1984.
All right, hold on one second. Where's the boardwalk?
Does anybody here do not know what a boardwalk is?
Okay. Yes, I know those guys. I know no, never know that one.
We used to get a house in Miles, but I
Well, okay, you go down a mile. Well, the boardwalk, if you're from the Northeast, the boardwalk is maybe a mile, 2 miles long of arcades, pizza stands, games of chances, piers, rides. It's just like if you were from Wisconsin, you know what cheese is. It's just part of your DNA when you grow up there. So, and I was very fortunate. I started working for a gentleman, his name is Lucky Leo, and he still has stands on the boardwalk. Matter of fact, he's 93 years old and still plays golf, so great guy. And he was like my adopted dad, and he taught me the business. And that's when I started to become an entrepreneur, because I really, really enjoyed that kind of environment. It was very interesting. You create games for people to play, and they spend their money. I mean, many nights we'd sit around the tavern, just dream up a game. We put a game in, open the door, to see if the people would play it. And sometimes they would just play it like crazy, and you had a hit. Other times, 2 days later, you closed the door and you hope you came up with another game. Interesting fact though, you only had 65 days to make a year's worth of money. Because back in those days, you went from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So you worked your 20 hours a day, sometimes 22 hours a day to get that in. So, you know, it was a big grind, but like what everybody does here in the detailing world, you have to have the passion to do it. And if you have the passion, the hours don't mean too much.
So how old were you when you started working on the boardwalk?
Well, I graduated from high school in 1970. So I'm almost pushing 70 years old, guys, here, so bear with me here. And interesting about my graduation out of high school, I was not a good student at all in high school. And once I graduated, the next day I was down in that boardwalk working the stand. And that was just a great feeling. You had the ocean there, you had all the girls in bikinis, and they paid me to do that. And that was just great. It was like being a mini rock star back then. But the whole entrepreneurship grew out of that because it just wasn't fun and games. I didn't surf, so I took advantage of the guys who wouldn't show up and work that had to surf. And it was, like I said before, it was a lot of passion on that. And through the times on the boardwalk, and I said that goes from 1970 to 1984, that was pre-Atlantic City gambling. So if you had Cabbage Patch dolls on your booth, or you had Teddy Bears or TVs, the games were 5 cents, 10 cents, sometimes a quarter. It's a whole different deal than it is in 2020 in those areas there. So, and the cool thing about that, I learned that people really do not mind spending money if you give them a service that they enjoy. All right, now, people save a blue-collar boardwalk. People would save the firemen, the policemen, the people who work for communities in North Jersey and Philly. They would save them all year to come down for 2 weeks on the beach. And they play the balloon games and the wheels and stuff, and they enjoy that. And when you can have a relationship with a customer that actually they're providing a service, they're giving you money, but it doesn't have to be a painful situation. Mostly we all go around life saying we don't want to let our money go. But if you give them a service that they enjoy, they're quite happy to say, I want some more. So, you know, I learned that at a very young age.
So that is definitely I almost say like a God-given talent or talent that you're almost born with.
Well, some people say it's like a carny talent, like Ed McMahon. Anybody old enough here to know Ed McMahon? Okay, well, he was a boardwalk party too, and he played a good number 2 man for Johnny Carson. And I know I'm dating myself to some of you young guys, but you either develop it, you have it, or you don't have it. A good detailer a really good detail, you have it. I mean, you try to figure out how to make more money, how to get a better product, how to deliver a better service. You just have it. And when you find that passion, it's amazing. I found that at a fairly young age, and as things progressed, the next question you probably ask me is, how did I get into, off the boardwalk and into the automotive detailing or supply business?
Actually, I'm not.
Well, I hope you are. I have that answer next.
But that's coming up. So, about education, before we get to where you're at today and all the way through the journey, can you tell us about your education? Because as we were speaking earlier, you were telling me some about some of the difficulties and so forth that you had.
Yes, I was a typical student. I struggled a lot, and back in those days, they just looked at you as being dumb, I guess. I deal with dyslexia and a slight learning disorder for memory recall. So all of my journey had to be a different way. If I took a test in school, I had to memorize it. I didn't remember it after it was over. I didn't learn anything. So I found myself, but I didn't know the difference. I thought that was the only way people learn. So, when I was able to find some success, you keep on doing that and keep on doing that. So it's like certain people have certain ways to get the answer. My struggle was I had to find my own way because a normal way just didn't work for me. But when you go through that, you don't realize you're going through that until it becomes quite aware to you that when that system does not work anymore. Now, an example I'll give you is when the computers came on. Okay, I could always find a solution to anything my own way. It might take me 2 or 3 times longer than anybody else, but I could get there. When computers came, and they said, if you don't put that dot there, you're not going any further. It was very challenging for me to become a computer person because I had to really, for the first time in my life, I was handicapped because I would always, it was very challenging, but I applied myself because I knew that if I don't learn how to obey the computer godfathers, they're not going to let me go. There's no cheating, there's no going around the corners. My way of learning was defunct. So I spent a lot of time at an older age getting used to how to do computers. And to this day, I've always wrapped myself around a very good team to assist me. I still get a lot of assistance to this day. And that's one of my secrets is you build a team. You're only as good as you are. And you build a team and treat the team the best you can. And you can't please everybody all the time. But if you do the things that you believe in business, the money will always follow. And a lot of people don't look at it that way. That's the last thing they think about. If you have a passion, you do your thing. Sometimes you don't have to worry about the bean counters and so on and so forth. I'll guarantee you, you believe in yourself, your money will follow. It'll just come to you.
Very good. After the boardwalk, I can tell that you're definitely a people person. I mean, I'm sure everybody here, right before the thing, he's walking around shaking everybody's hands. That's something that's just you. You love people.
Well, people are more important than anything else because without people, there's nothing. I mean, it's just the way it is. When you can connect to another human being about anything and not be afraid to shake your hand, not be afraid to make a mistake, not be afraid to sit up here and say, well, some people might like it, some people might not. Hey, guess what? At 6 o'clock, I'm back to having a cocktail with everybody else, and it's just fine. Just think, we're in a industry with detailing cars. We're not selling insulin to diabetics. Think about that. We're so blessed to be able to do what we're doing. So when you put things in perspective, there's no fear, there's no anxiety. You go with the flow and believe in yourself. And when you are 100% yourself all the time, then you're gonna just make a lot of really good friends. And you might not make with other people because they're just gonna be jealous, or they're gonna say, well, it's not fair. But that goes with the territory, it really does.
You built a few teams.
I built a great team when I was from 1984 or 85 till 2000. I built a great team down in Palm Beach County. I built a chain of retail stores called the Driver's Seat. There were 6 of them, 5 in Palm Beach County, 1 up in Martin County. There's 2 still going now. I sold them to my 2 managers. That was all pre-internet. There was no internet back in those days. And they were brick and mortar stores that carried McGuire's and Sidewall, but we carried the best car covers, the best bras. We had sheepskin floor mats for the Bentleys and it's all top-end stuff. And in Palm Beach County, it was great. You know, a lot of disposable income. And a lot of people with disposable income are just looking for a place to spend their money because that's what they like to do. But you have to provide a service that they think is worth more than what they paid for. And that's the bottom line right there. They'll come in and ask you, you know, they could have a Ferrari and how much is that car cover? And you tell them it's $200. And back in the day when Kmart was around, they would say, well, Kmart has it for $35. And you would say, well, is it American made? Is it double stitched? Does it breathe? Is it made for your Ferrari? No, but they have to think about it. So I would give them my business card. Everybody likes a deal. I'd say, well, I'll give you a week. Give you 10% off. You go out there and see what you can find. Car cover, American made, that breathes, double stitched, custom made, guaranteed to fit. I'll even put it on before you pay for it. Go out there and see what you can find out. And they'll go out there. Of course, nobody in a parts store knows what they're talking about. Hey, where's that car cover made? I don't know. And if they gave me a little bit of a hard time, I'd say, listen, that car cover for your Ferrari is the same price for a VW. Now, come on. And I was blessed because we had Burt Reynolds, we had Lonnie Anderson, we had all those people for this Jupiter. Pretty neat, they came in. I used to have Burt Reynolds come in my shop on Sunday, 4 o'clock, he'd call with Don DeLuise, because he'd come at 4 o'clock, stay till 6. He wanted to shop by himself after the shop was closed. Great guy, he was a local guy. But when you have that kind of stuff, am I keeping you awake over here? No, just kidding. I'm kidding. But it's kind of neat when you build a team, like I said, build a team. I had 6 managers, they did a lot of stuff. And my job was to make sure that they were able to execute the way I wanted them to. And like I say, now those stores are still in existence, 2 of them. It's changed a lot with the internet. And at the end of that part, 2000, when the internet was starting to come around, I felt that the brick and mortar business was going to be eclipsed by e-commerce. So that was my next move, Randy. And that was in 2000. And so I ran 15 years with the driver's seats, and they were wonderful. It was just a lot of fun. We did SEMA shows. We did all that way back then. And out of one of my stores in Boynton Beach, at 400 square feet. Now I had a relationship with about 25 vendors: Lexol, 303, P21S, Nymall, McGuire's, all this stuff. I said, well, let's open up a little website. I had all this stuff in my store, developed it. Next thing you know it, I was doing more on my website than I was in my store. And that's kind of how that started.
How old were you when you started?
I was 50. I was 50 years old when I started with the company that became known as AutoGeek. Yes, I was 50 years old. So if you're 45 years old and think you're too old to start a company, keep on going, man. Age is nothing. and as the progression went, it's with the relationships I had with the vendors, I was selling e-commerce out of my retail store. So it was like a no-brainer for me. And you have to remember, in the year 2000, no manufacturer in the car care business had a website. None. I turned out to be the only one in the world to have a website for car care. Okay. So there was no manufacturer that had a website. Amazon was just starting to sell books. Just starting to sell books. The pager wasn't even out yet. You still had the big brick, I think, you know. So when you look at what's going on now, you know, I was very fortunate to take AutoGeek for 400 square feet. And when I sold it to Tony George from Indianapolis, well, it was acquired, I should say, it really wasn't for sale. I had a relationship with Tony George because he's got an interest in Sonax. We became friends. And that's how it was eventually acquired. But on the road, it went from 400 square feet to approximately 50,000 square feet with 50 employees right through the recession. And through the recession, I was able to triple business almost yearly, as other people in the business kind of suffered a little bit.
Sure.
And some of the business I was able to acquire was Utopia. David Byron from California started that. I eventually was able to absorb that. I absorbed the Utopia form from 3D. Somehow 3D ended up owning that. I don't know how that happened. When Classic Motoring from Tampa went out of business, I acquired Black Fire Line. And during that time, I was able to create Pinnacle, Natural Brilliance, Pinnacle 850, Wolfgang, Marine 31. And when I sold the company, I was able to do my own brand, McKee's 37. So that's covers about 35, 40 years.
So let me ask you guys, who all of you own your own business out here? Wow, just about all of us. How many of you are detailers? How many of us are in the car wash industry? Okay. So I guess my question for these guys, I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to ask one question I think you might be thinking right now. With all your vast experiences in businesses, trying to struggle of when you do fall, how do you get back up? I'm sure you've had many experiences with this, with all those companies.
Well, it's very interesting. You have to have thick skin, and you only succeed from failure. There's no success without failure. And so, typically, you'll have 9 out of 10 things you might try to do. If you get 1 out of 10, it's a grand slam. But you have to, that's part of it, okay? Because the high and the success of hitting that is so terrific. I guess it's like winning at the crap table or something like that. You put your finances on the line, your mortgage in your house. It's just like, I'm going for it. And that separates the real people and the wannabes. And you know, and that's what it takes, you know. But I don't care how successful you are in business, you have many, many more failures, but those successes come from those failures. And that feeds it, keeps on feeding it.
And what are you doing now?
Well, now I'm actually enjoying some semi-retirement. I'm really blessed to have Nick Rutter from, he worked with me for about eight years over at AutoGeek. He came over McKee's 37, and he's a partner of mine, a real partner, not just a percentage guy. We put together Wayne Carini as a partner. Had a great relationship with Wayne for a long time. And right now, I go to the shop a couple days a week when I'm in town. But I spend a lot of time up in North Carolina. Who's in North Carolina again? I spent some time in the Asheville area, actually around Lake Lure. I like the mountains up there. And I'm blessed to travel with my motor coach. And I have it out here in the parking lot. And my staff isn't in the hotel, but I stay in the motor coach here. So if you're out there, you want to knock on the door and say hi, come on over, you know, have a beer. And I'm just
Party at Bob's place.
Yeah. The after party, yeah. But I'm almost 70 now, and I still enjoy it. I was up loading the tent today, driving the truck, getting stuff here. I still get that excitement, and so people would say, "Hey, Bob, you sold your last business, and you're going to retire," and it was really just resetting, you know, and you know, when you really don't think you ever worked a day in your life, how do you retire? And that's the way I look at it. You know, I think my last real job I had was a retail store when I was like 15 years old at hamburgers in New Jersey. You know, that was it. You know, I always went out and my own paper route. I did everything myself. I mean, I just, hey, I can do better than that. And that's the attitude I had.
Your very, very first job.
My very first job happened to be my paper route. I tried to get a paper route in New Jersey and there was no routes. But they were building some new apartments. So with help of my father, we contacted, I think it was the Perth Amboy Evening News, and he said that, listen, there's no routes. I said, well, listen, there's brand new apartments. Well, why don't you give me that area? And they said, well, there's no customers there. I said, well, give me some newspapers. I'll go get some customers. First year I had 35 customers. I was an honor carrier. And, but you know, you just make your own way. And that was my first kind of job.
Do you remember how much it paid?
Yes. Every Friday night, I'd go out to collect from the customers because that was my night out at that young age. It was 42 cents. 42 cents for six days, 6 papers. So if I had 2 quarters, I didn't have to give any change back. That was a big tip. Think about that. I go buy a Sunday paper now, Wall Street Journal, it's like $10. Yeah. But 42 cents for the whole, and it was the afternoon paper, no Sundays, and you just give them a little receipt, and you know, some people would just want their change back. Here's 2 quarters. I want the change back. You're just you're a punk ass kid. Come on, man. You know?
All right. I had another question. I lost it.
Well, I got something for you.
Okay.
This is something. This book is called Listening Pays. I'm an avid reader. This is a true story. If you get a chance, pick this book up. This is a story about a detailer here in Orlando. His name is Alfred Marino. At 3 years old, he lost his hearing when he had his measles. So he was very handicapped, but he learned how to detail. Through that time, and to this day even, he does the Larry Wilson collection. He does the Bruce Myers collection in California. Very interesting. People here, they do not listen. If you listen to your customers, you'll be wealthy. You'll be wealthy if you listen to your customers. How many times does someone say, how many times does anybody in this room finish someone else's sentence? Anybody guilty of doing that? You're not listening. How many people say, well, I know that? When you say that, you're not listening. This is so interesting because what he ended up doing at the age of 41, he got an implant put in. So now he can hear. He's been hearing for 19 years. He's still an active detailer up in the Orlando area here. And when he details, he actually takes the implant out. Because he got so used to looking at the car as a canvas and getting into it, that when he could hear again, it was a distraction. And that is, to me, and when it's a true story, and you understand a lot of stuff about yourself if you're in it detailing, or you come up to some issues where you think you have some problems, whether it's not enough business, too much business, you know, your wife's got a problem, this guy has some issues. So if he can do it, anybody out there can do it. And I'll guarantee you'll get this book and you'll give it to somebody else. It's called Listening Pays. Very, very interesting concept. It only connects with us because it's a true story and it's a detailer and it's a local detailer. So you get a chance, pick this up. It's really amazing.
Who would like to have a book like that? Who's readers? I would too. Where'd you get it? Amazon?
Any place you want to. And I mean, who raised their hand first? Gentleman in the back? You got this book, my friend. Come on up here. Now, I talked to Alfred a couple of days ago. I was hoping he was able to make it. And I would have liked to introduce you to him, because the way here you go, my friend. Enjoy it in good health. You're welcome. I I met him at one of my cars and coffees that we did down in with AutoGeek, and he's the one that gave me that book. And I gotta be honest, when he first introduced himself to me, I was busy doing my thing and I wasn't listening. And about 3 weeks later, I read the book and I called him right up and he said, I know you weren't listening to me. Because if you didn't hear it for that many years, you know who's listening and who's not listening.
So guys, thank you, Bob, for being here and talking with us. We're not over, but this is Get to Know Bob. I'm going to walk around the room. If you guys have a question for Bob, please raise your hand. He's going to sit up here and answer all your questions. And all right, I'll be right over here. Start thinking of some questions, hard questions.
Oh, come on, Randy, gee whiz, you know.
Where are you from?
Lake Worth, Florida. Bob, what prompted you to step away from AutoGeek?
Well, it was not for sale, and there's a couple of factors involved. First of all, if you have a business that's not for sale, it's good when someone wants to acquire it. I wasn't ready to retire, but I saw a lot of things changing in my 20 years, like I said before. The challenges of right now, when compared to how it was at the beginning, you got to remember, every manufacturer now has a website. Amazon, you have to, they do a good job. And you have to deal with Amazon too. All right, so there's lots, the pie's cut in so many ways. I actually used to make money when I would ship goods. Maybe $1, maybe $2 on a order. Okay, you gotta pay for the packaging, the popcorn, the paper, the labor, you know. Now it's free, it has to be free shipping. The last year I owned AutoGeek, mine is almost $3 million in shipping. Now, that money was just moved over to the advertising because I had to say, if you don't free ship, anybody here's gonna pay for shipping? Anybody? Does anybody pay for shipping? No. No. Do you? You're supposed to be sleeping over here. No. But listen, most people don't want to pay for shipping because of Amazon. So, you know, you have to go with the flow. You're an entrepreneur. It's your job to move around. So, a lot of the things that I put together, you know, kept on getting more challenging, I should say. And when an offer came, it was a great offer from a great group of people, Tony, George, and his wife. And, you know, it gave me an opportunity to start another little small company. And I kind of joke around a little bit. It's almost like if you own a yellow cab, okay, and someone says, listen, we want to buy a yellow cab, and you can keep like 2 cabs just to pick up a few fares once in a while. But the Uber and Lyft came at the same time. So it's like, I think I'm going to go a different direction because I believe the base of my business had to be retooled. Thank you for the question.
All right, we got John from West Palm Beach.
First off, Bob, thank you for coming out and doing this for us. It's an honor to meet you. Secondly, with all your years of success, if you could give 30 seconds to somebody who's younger now in their field and building a business, what would be some advice that you could give to that person?
Well, that's a great question. And I'm not going to have the perfect answer, but from my history, spend more time with your family, spend more time with your kids. I'm a workaholic, and there's no difference from an alcoholic or a drug addict. It really is. My kids suffered, my marriage suffered, but I grew up very poor. And if you worked 20 hours a day and ignored your family, it was good. Just like smoking a long time ago. I used to go to my doctor and he used to smoke. Okay. We didn't know. I look back. I'm fortunate enough that I was able to repair a lot of those things, but you can't replace. Because when it's over, it's over. So take care of your loved ones. Be good to your neighbors, and believe in what you do, but carve out time for your family. I would say that's the most important thing.
I agree, and listen.
And listen.
I'm curious where the 37 comes from, McKee's 37.
Oh, I knew somebody was going to ask that one. This might take a few minutes, not that I talk too much, but Okay, in marketing 101, okay, guys like numbers, okay. If you look at what you have 303, you have 3M, you have 409, you have P21S, S100. Guys like numbers, they like odd numbers, okay. So in my marketing mind, like when I developed Pinnacle 850, Black Label 850, it had to be a number, 850. People ask me, why? What's 850? Well, it's a high-end ceramic, and that was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. It had to be the best of the best of the best. So people would ask me, Bob, what's 850? And 850 is the highest credit score. Okay? So then it's Marine 31. I did Marine 31. What's the 31? Well, I didn't know, but I knew whenever I market, I need numbers, because guys like numbers. So I didn't know Bertram had a 31-foot boat. That's a famous boat. I had no idea. Everybody thought it was, you know, the Bertram 31. I didn't anyway. I didn't know. 31 was the length of my boat. It had nothing to do with anything. All right? So, and it's a very successful line that's still out, Marine 31. Excuse me. So 37, when I was putting keys together, I'm an avid motor coach guy. I had just graduated from a little C-class RV into a 37-foot motor coach. And that's where 37 came from. By the time I got the line out, I happened to have a 45-foot motor coach. And I was debating, should I call it 3745? And that's too many numbers. So it was just really the keys 37. But what's ironic, I had contests with the internet and the chat rooms and stuff. For a full year, I never told anybody what those numbers were about, so we were able to market conversations for a whole year. And with the internet and with social media at the beginning, you got this back and forth, you had that engagement. And so it was really a good tool to get the product going, and get those impressions. At the end of the year, then we'd have a contest, somebody would win it, and we would tell them the rest of the story. Even with the new line we do now, Nautical 1. It's, you know, it's number 1, Nautical 1. But there's if you look in your toolbox, you're going to see a lot of your stuff have numbers on it. The McGuire's line has numbers. The 3M line has numbers. It's just one of those psychological things that guys like to have numbers, you know. And when I did graduate college, I did graduate with a degree in psychology and human behavior. So maybe that's got a little merit in someplace when I finally got through college.
So, anybody else have any questions? Hello?
Where can we see the future of McKee's 37 going now that the headquarters is complete? We're seeing a new expansion.
Repeat that, please.
We're seeing a new expansion. You guys are adding on to the building?
Well, yes, we just finished building an 8,000 square foot freestanding building, and we're building another 8,000. And so we'll have 16,000 online and by this time next year. Where it's going, we have a rapidly growing, very efficient company. We have 5 people total, and for me to do the kind of business I'm doing with 5 people now, I needed 35 or 40 before. A lot of our stuff that goes to ParkQuest and Advance Auto ships out of North Carolina. We don't even see it. A lot of stuff goes to Amazon. We don't even see it. We don't pump our bottles. We don't label our bottles. Our volume's high enough that we have our partners do all that for us now. I used to do all that in-house, every single bottle label, but when your volume's high enough, you can have your partners just, and it's nice to do business without even touching the product. So.
Anybody else out here? Okay. I got a quick question for you while I'm going back here.
Okay.
Where do you live at now?
Where do I live now?
You're talking about your RV.
Yeah, well, I live in Palm City, Florida, which is in Stewart half the year, and the other half the year, we actually travel the country in a motor coach, and when we're not doing that, we have a motor coach resort up in Lake Laura, a little place called Apple Valley Farms, and it's a really quaint little place. It's only for A-class RVs or motor coaches. We have a little restaurant there, and we have a produce stand that works on the honor system. You get your tomatoes and you leave the money behind. It's a beautiful thing.
All right, I've been from Indiana
Paul, I have a question for you. You talked about the impact of technology and obviously of the market downturn in 08 and 09. Can you talk about the impact of new technologies on the automotive side when we look at electric vehicles, hybrid vehicles, and autonomous vehicles? Maybe give you a little change-up question.
Well, that is a change-up question, and since we really focus in on surface enhancements, I think there's always going to be a market for whether it's the last 4 or 5 years ceramic and stuff, and now we have electric cars, and it's evolving, and as it evolves, it's either going to hit your sweet spot or you're going to have to reinvent yourself. And I do believe in the future there's going to be more merging and grouping up, particularly in this industry, because this industry started in the garage, cottage industry really, and it's almost mainstream now. So it's grown a lot in the past 20 years. It's not the detail shop at the Chevron station by any means. But as it grows, it's going to put pressure on the growth of it. And there's going to be some consolidation of it. And, a lot of people are very independent. They want to do their own thing. I see in the next 5 or 6 years in my business that, I make chemicals, and we have pads manufactured for us in Lake Country. And I see partnering with other strong companies because it's going to be very challenging just to be a single operation anymore. It really is, I think.
All right, that's going to wrap us up, but I think you said you wanted to offer something.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, anybody in this room here, would you be interested in getting a little goodie bag at our booth? Nick, there's Nick. Nick, stand up. That's Nick Runner. He's the one that really knows all the work. Nick, since you'll be in the booth tomorrow, and Wayne Carini will be there from 12 to 4 if you want to come by and have some autographs, pictures, and so on and so forth. And one plug, if you happen to be in Stuart, Florida on February 21st or 22nd, we're having an open house grand opening in our new building. Wayne will be there both days. We have a surprise guest. There's a car show, there's food, there's tours. Right, Nick?
Yeah, great time.
Yeah, come on down, see us. It'll be a lot of fun. Hope to see you. But what do you have for this group here?
I think we'll give you guys a gift pack valued at $25.
A $25 goodie bag for everybody here?
Everybody here.
Hey, what do you think? You think that's okay? Well, I'll tell you what. Let's make it 50. What do you think? 50? All right, let's make it 50. All you have to do is go by, see Nick, myself, to say I was at the, what's the code word you want to use?
37.
37. All right. Go see Nick, come by the booth, get a little goodie bag. I really appreciate, this is a terrific honor. I want to, thank all of you for coming out and spending this hour. I want to thank Kevin for putting this together. Randy.
We thank you for taking the time.
Well, it's a
schedule and this being so open and honest with us.
Well, it's a pleasure. I just have to say the journey's been great. Yeah, I'm so blessed that you can make a living on something people really don't really need. Think of all the other people doing really important stuff in the world. We're chasing swirls, So if you can find something that you like, do it. If you find a company that you enjoy their products, use it. If you come up in a situation that your product might not be performing, come and see us. We'll try to help you out because we are a problem-solving company with Christian morals. That's what we're about. And if you eventually you're going to come with us, but there's no rush. We're not going anywhere. Dick's only 31. I told him I was 50 when I started Auto Geek, so, he'll be around a long time more than I will be. He's got more patience than I do. But thank you so much for coming. I hope to see you all during the weekend, and thank you so much. Thank you.